All right, welcome back to the New American Realist Show. I have Mimi with me today. Her story has been taken. It's been really interesting to follow her journey on Twitter. She's been all the way on. We're talking about meat-based diet, going through Parkinson's. Her story has been beyond interesting. And before I even go into her story, that she can kind of break it down for us a little bit, I just want to ask you, Mimi, first off, thank you for coming on to the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. What a pleasure.
Thank you. I just want to ask you where you are located. What is the state of the economy? I like to talk to people. I had some people from different countries on this video blog, and of course, different states. And I just kind of want to see where you are, what the food prices are, where you are, what's going on with overall economy. What do you see in your area?
So I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, the Low Country on the water. It's an expensive area anyway, because I'm close to the water. I mean, prices are absolutely going through the roof. I don't go to the grocery store, but I do occasionally will get some meat, beef, if I don't have anything thawed or dry brine right, and I want to grab something. Um, at Whole Foods, because they do have some farm raised meat there. And just for instance, about a month ago, uh, I got some Terry Major, which is a bistro filet, was $9.99 a pound. And anytime I went to the butcher would say to me, "Oh, smart lady, this is the best deal in the whole case." And then I went on vacation, visit family, and came back 10 days later, and it was up $2 a pound to 11.99. I mean, that's astronomical. I mean, that's what, 20% increase
Yeah, yeah,
in 1 week.
it's no big deal nowadays
Through
to
the roof.
go
Yeah.
from 10 to 20. I mean, to 10 to 12 to
Oh
13
yeah,
years.
sure.
It just doesn't
And,
seem like it's a
and
big deal. But
it
yeah,
wasn't just that cut. When I looked at the case, it's like just crazy. I mean,
okay.
absolutely, the prices are going up. And I buy eggs. I don't eat eggs now. Now I'm doing the Lions diet, which is really working out well for me. But when I got eggs, I would go get them from a local farmer, and they're already over $1 an egg. I
Really?
mean,
Um,
oh yeah, from a
okay.
local farmer.
Okay. Because
Yeah, I think it's like 12.79 a dozen for farm eggs.
okay, because I
Not in
was
a grocery store.
got you because I was talking on Twitter. I still call it Twitter, by the way. I like the name. I'm not saying I like
Yeah,
who's running it, who was running it. I just think the name Twitter is just always sticking with me. So on Twitter, I
sure.
used to talk about 2 years ago. I said that I believe that eggs are going to be $1 per egg. And a lot of people were saying that basically I was ridiculed and all that, which is typical for me because I am kind of always a little bit more of a contrarian views on so many things. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm happy I'm correct because I knew it was going to happen. So it was more of I was trying to
Yeah.
let people know. So for someone like yourself who is so careful of what you're eating, your lifestyle of working out and everything, and someone who is I hate to say the way you look to me, you honestly look like you are in your 50s. And we know that
Oh, thank you.
you openly talk about on Twitter that your
Yeah,
birthday is coming up, you're turning 70. And from
I
some
am in 2 months.
it's incredible. And you've been working out every single day. Can you tell me for someone who is, let's say, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, someone who is listening to this show, what would be your best advice since you do have a lot more experience, for instance, than me? I am pushing 50, but you have a lot more experience than me. What would be one advice that you would give to people, to our listeners here?
You mean as far as having your health?
Anything that comes down
Yeah. Okay.
preparing,
Well,
health, like what is
um,
the wisdom from Mimi, being at the age of almost 70 that you are, looking the way you do and doing all the workout and everything you do? What is the words of wisdom from
uh,
you?
so I would first thing is I'd start now. Don't wait until you're sick. Don't I mean because when you're younger, you think you can get away with it. I guarantee you it's going to catch up to you. And this is somebody that was physically active, well into her 40s before I let work grab a hold of me and responsibilities, and then I ignored taking care of myself, thinking I've got time. And then I got sick, and then I had no time. So that's one thing. Change the way you eat now. I look. Uh, for me, food is nothing that's in the grocery store unless it's beef. I don't even eat vegetables; they're loaded with pesticides. I mean, really feed yourself a nutrient-rich diet. I've been shouting, we're kindred spirits here because I've been for 2 years, almost monthly, I post the Gulag Archipelago and say, you all need to read this because you all can't even see what's coming. Because I could see it 2 years ago what's coming. And I think you're going to, and then I finish with that. You need to make friends with your local farmer. If I was in my 20s, I'd probably be out in the country, and I'd make friends with a farmer. I'd have cattle. I would provide for food because I think we're headed into some trouble, and I think they're going to really try to control what we eat and limit, and they're going to definitely go after our beef, and I know people are going to say I'm crazy, like your egg story is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that's going to happen, and they're going to make it so expensive that you're not going to be able to afford. So I would make provisions just in case, and I think that's really important. The other thing is you need to exercise, you need to worry about your sleep, you need to worry about your blue light, you need to worry about you need to and I'm old enough that I remember a life without all these things that are making us sick. For these that are younger, most of them do not know what that life is like. And it's really, I would find it. And then, resilience is important. One of my sayings is you can do hard things. Do every hard thing you think any hard thing that comes your way that you should do, don't put it off, do it. Because we have to have resilience because accidents happen, times get tough, and you need to be prepared.
And this is
So that's what I would say, which is a whole lot. It's a whole lot, but but we really need to toughen up. We need to provide for ourselves, and because everything comes easy, and then when things are taken away or they're too expensive, then people are going to get caught not being able to figure out what to do, and you need to figure it out before you get there.
Yes, and I'm so glad I asked that question because this channel that I started a while back, as you can see, this is nothing fancy here. It's not like I'm some fancy Joe Rogan setup or none of that. I've been talking about stuff that I believed growing up in a really tough environment with hyperinflation, civil war, and all that. And I've seen it, and I've seen the writing on the wall. That's why I started a channel, and I wanted to tell people way before the whole thing with the health event that happened in 2020 that, I can't even say on my channel because it will have like 10 views. It would be
right,
censored because that's what's going on.
correct.
So that's all
Right.
I talked about was preparing and making sure that people try to have something on their own, even if it takes growing like a little plant outside. I had just had
Right.
visitors from Florida that used to live next to us. They were actually going, I haven't seen them in 4 years, right? They were going through Arkansas and they stopped because they were doing like a little road trip through the country, and they showed up at 7 in the morning, right? And of course, we had like
Yes.
some breakfast and all that. And I asked them what they're doing, and they're Florida is basically like jam packed. I'm sure you were just recently there, and you were
Sure. Yeah.
out there, and I lived out there, so I know how it is. And he said one of his neighbors has, I don't know how many pounds of actual food that he was able to grow on just a quarter-acre lot, which is obviously pretty big,
Yeah.
unless you're really in the swampland in Florida. And
Right.
it's kind of what I've been talking about on this channel. So tell us real quick about your Parkinson's story and how you were able to reverse it, because that is, and I will post some links from your other interviews that were way longer that got a lot of views.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I my first diagnosis, real quick, and and this is my early 60s, maybe 62. I was 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Had a bad fall, had to have surgery, another surgery. and then got excuse me, just one. And well, no, I did have two because I had to have a plate and screws removed. And diagnosed with RA 2 years after that. I started having neurological problems. Was diagnosed with Parkinson's. You know, it's an interesting story because, and I just had another podcast this week, and he asked me, you know, did I heal or was I misdiagnosed? There's a lot of misdiagnosis. So I lean towards that I was misdiagnosed, but that doesn't take away from, for 6 years, the severity of my illness and the symptoms that I had. Because that's, you know, that's an important question when you don't have symptoms. You know, when we're sick, we're given a diagnosis. So when we're not sick, does that mean we never had it? Does it mean we healed from it? Was it a misdiagnosis or what? And I think these are really important questions that we need to start asking about that. But I was getting worse and worse. And then had a stroke about 2 years and 3 months after my Parkinson's. Had to quit work. It was that bad. Had cognitive issues. Had nighttime dystonia. Was on a lot of medication. So anyway, I had a stroke and was then affected with MRSA from the IV, which spread to my spine and nearly killed me. Had to have emergency surgery to try to hose me down. And I was in the hospital for 2 to 3 months rehab and left with a walker. About 15 months after, I was using a cane and could barely walk. And they said, you know, this is it for you. And it was pretty discouraging. And I still had to sit to shower to wash my hair. It took me 5 or 10 minutes to roll over in bed. Thank goodness I had an iron bed that I could hold my arms and roll over. Couldn't empty the bottom of the dishwasher and was pretty immobile. And had an epiphany where I was about to give up. My family's already thinking about a home for me. And the epiphany that presented to me was, well, I can't do what I want to do. What do I have in me? And my answer was, I have 10 steps, which was really nothing for somebody who was really an athlete like I was. But I did those 10 steps and I did them every day, get to the new 10-step marker. And I just accepted that was what I could do. At this point now, because of the Parkinson's medication that I was on a very high carb diet. About 4 ounces of protein at night. Most of it was chicken or fish, maybe once a month, a little beef. And that's because it competed with the medication. And so I put on weight and went across the street, knowing I needed to lose weight because my back was hurting me, across the street to a weight loss center. He was a chiropractor and we spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours talking. And he said, okay, you're a really sick woman. I came in with my 13 plus medications. He said, we need to get you well. What are you willing to do what I suggest? And I said, sure. What do I have to lose? And then he presents to tell me to eat 50% fat, 25% protein, and 25% carbs. Well, I probably didn't eat 50% fat of a day's calorie in 2 months, my whole life. I really was fat deprived. And I really thought it was nuts. I thought I was going to put on more weight, but I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I started to, I wasn't getting worse. In about 3 months, I noticed an improvement. And to get to that 50%, I'm adding beef because you're not getting to 50% without adding beef. And about 6 or 9 months into it, I'm starting to, and I was a good eater, so I didn't have a lot of junk food to get out. That doesn't mean I wouldn't go have a piece of bread or maybe some sort of tortilla chips, but I didn't have garbage in the house. So I was a good eater, but I started getting rid of my oxalates, my nightshades were gone, lectins, which are your beans, because I was pretty sick. So I had to streamline. And I started to feel better with the fat. I started to crave it more. I started to crave beef a couple times a week. And I started to want to eat the fat on the meat instead of cutting it off. Started wanting to have steak a couple times more a week, and I found myself eating beef, 5, 6 times a day. And then I started, because I had a little app, because I'm eating new, so I have an app kind of monitor my macros. And I started to get up to 70, 80% fat about 9 months or so in. And that's where I noticed my neuro symptoms were getting better. And that's where the light bulb went off in my head, where, oh my God, my body is healing because I've changed the way I eat.
My
And then I
body
just took it
the
and
way I changed the way I eat.
because I the way I eat. And yeah.
Wow.
And literally a light bulb went off in my head and through my whole body. It was like I saw it all. Because
Amazing.
even though I'm going through this process, I hadn't seen it. And then that's when I started to, and I'm going to just give a caveat. I don't recommend anybody do this, but for me, it was the right path. I started to eliminate my medications.
Yeah. Well,
Because when you're on 13 plus medications, you're being poisoned. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. You're being poisoned on 13 plus medications.
yep. I'll add to this story. I mentioned it on one of my videos. And I think I told you when we were just chatting on one of the messages on again on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was telling you my mom, she is 74, I believe. She listens to the show, and I told her about you. I sent her some of the
Okay.
and she was diagnosed with it was the beginning stage 1 breast cancer. It was not aggressive one. I understand everybody's different, so this is not some medical advice or me telling people what to do. I'm just talking like you from personal stories, and I've heard from
Right.
Dr. Barry, Sean Baker, other people. I've heard so many stories. I'm very active on Twitter, and you know, I believe it because I feel the way I feel when I'm eating a lot of just farm fresh chicken eggs, chickens that we raise here, turkeys,
Right.
beef. But again, it was not enough for me to be totally convinced. I don't know everything. It's just a lot of new stuff, even though back in the day, that's actually what people used to do. They were just eating
Right.
basically out there, you know, and that, you know, that's just the way it was. Now we're all substituting this. But going back to mom's story, that's basically what happened to her. She was on the diet that I was doing for her with my wife. We set up a plan, and she was just eating beef. We were providing eggs from our farm, brought a little bit of chicken, and that was it. So she did eat some spinach with olive oil and garlic. So she was doing that. Um, and just a lot of beef, and all of a sudden it was no radiation needed. Hopefully everything continues to be the way it is. The cancer shrunk in half, okay, without her doing any chemotherapy, none of that. The doctors were baffled, and I just wanted to add that to the story, what happened to us. And then hearing your story, which, by the way, I want to hear longer of your story after you, not tonight, of course, you're going to a concert. So I'm going to have you back on in about a week or two, whenever it's available, whenever you're available, I mean.
Sure, that sounds great.
Yes, I would love to hear that story, because we had some issues on my side to connect here with the interview, and I don't want to take up your time, but I cannot wait, Mimi, to have you back on, hopefully next Friday, next month. It doesn't matter. You just shoot me a message, and we'll see how this turns out from this interview. Hopefully a lot of people, my channel has been really attacked a lot because I talk about climate change is a hoax and all that. And you say those words, you know, at this point, I don't even care anymore. I'm just hoping, even if 10 people hear it, it is what it is. So tell us real quick, when can people find you? Tell us where they can find you.
So I'm on Twitter, because that's what I call it. And I'm at Mimi K, initial K, Morgan. And that's where I am. I'm also on Instagram. I'm rebuilding my account. It got hacked, so I just started it back up this week, which is just a shame. And that is Mimi Morgan with initial K at the end. Okay. They can't get me in my old Instagram account. They got the hackers gone, but they can't get me in. I mean, is that crazy?
Yeah, well, I had my first Twitter back in the day with Jack Dorsey, was completely nuked. I was really off the cuff when I was first. I had a lot of followers. I mean, a lot. And my account was just erased. This is before Elon Musk took over. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The censorship continues, and we'll touch up on that too.
It does. It does.
For sure. And you're going to a concert tonight. You know.
Yeah, a rare thing. I'm home all the time, but I'm like, Oh yeah, I mean, I'm super active. I'm fit. I reverse the clock. I looked 85 years old. I mean, my family's thinking we're going to have to put you in a home, and I'm thinking I'm not going to live to go in a home. I'm not going to make it that long.
This
And
is
now I just live life
incredible.
fully. It is because not only am I off all the medication, I have no symptoms. I am just in probably the most incredible health of my whole life. My body is healed, and for me to heal for as sick as I was at my age really says how powerful the human body is when you feed it the right food. And now I'm doing Lion's diet because dairy doesn't set with me. And so I eliminated eggs. I was doing butter. This week I'm doing Lion and I am feeling really good.
Oh, that's why. Okay, so we got
Really good.
something going on with the
Of course,
Lion.
I'm eating your beef, so now I'm feeling great.
Okay, well, hopefully a lot more coming. We've got several more cows at the butcher as we speak, so we're picking them up. As you
Oh
can see,
wow.
I post videos every 2-3 weeks. We have like a new batch that comes in, which is great because they're literally going over
Yeah.
the pasture straight to the butcher, so you cannot get any more fresh.
Wow.
So,
No, you can't.
well,
And it makes a huge difference. Yeah, because it's rich with collagen and the nutrients. It's just incredible.
well, great. So what I'll do is I'll catch up with you because we do talk a lot on Twitter. And
Yeah,
remember,
sure.
it can be next month. We'll go over it. Hopefully, easier access. But I like a little shorter videos because, as you know, this channel is not
Sure.
big, and hopefully, we get some people with you sharing this video online. Maybe they'll hear the story and to cut it off now. You said from beginning it's not late to start. You started at the later age of your life. You thought that was it. You were able to reverse it. I lived a life that was 100% opposite of what I'm doing right now. I mean, it was not healthy at all. I
Yeah.
was on the road a lot, eating a lot of fast food, a lot of partying in my 20s, including 30s. I know that it's not late for someone to reverse this, and this is where we're going to leave off for today,
Okay.
and hopefully catch up again. And good to see you. I know it's not live, but it's
Good to.
yes.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great to see you. And yeah, just shoot me an email. We'll set a time. Just this or a message on Twitter, and we'll set up a time for the next couple of weeks.
Well, Mimi, again, thank you. Have fun tonight, and we will talk in a
Oh,
week. So
all right.
thank you for
Thank
coming.
you, Marco. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. We are out.